everybody was like, oh my God, she looks so thin. And the arms were the thing that like just stood out to us. When I saw her, she did look alarmingly thin.
Malnourished.
Yeah, absolutely.
You both have a fascination with knives, or you have.
I've collected weapons since I was a little girl.
She hired somebody to kill her.
Have you gotten to speak with Angelina since?
No, I really don't want to talk about it, fellas.
Despite other celebs calling their kiss blatantly sexual, Jolie dismissed incest rumors.
Jolie also claims that Pitt body slammed her at one point.
Angelina Jolie has gone through hell during her career. She was born into a Hollywood family with a famous father, but she built her own brand through her acting, which included drugs, depression, and mutilation. Angelina made it through several tragic moments, and at one point, she even stopped her own murder from happening. So let's get into it. Angelina Jolie is one of the most successful actresses of our generation, but she hasn't had it easy. From strange relationships with family members to complicated romantic relationships to film roles that have left her traumatized. She's gone through a lot. And today we're taking a deep dive into Angelina's career and how she's managed to survive the entertainment industry. Let's go back to the beginning because Angelina's father and mother were both in the entertainment industry. They actually met one evening at the Beverly Hills Hotel and they had an instant connection. John told her mother, you know, I could have 2 children with you. He says she didn't blink, neither did I. Sure enough, I had 2 children with that gal. But then he went off to have an affair and he just left his family behind. At that point, Angelina was 1 year old, so she didn't understand that her father had just abandoned her and her family. But later in life, she realized what had happened and it affected her. In 2014, she was quoted saying, I never thought I'd have children. I never thought I'd be in love. I never thought I'd meet the right person. Having come from a broken home, you kind of accept that certain things feel like a fairy tale and you just don't look for them. And there's no doubt in my mind that Angelina has a lot of resent for her father, John. In 2017, she shared that she dropped the part of her name, Voight, which was her father's last name, because she didn't feel that close to her dad and she wasn't comfortable being hired for a name. Because keep in mind, her father was a successful actor in Hollywood, so it did make it a little bit easier for Angelina, even though he wasn't really in her life. Another issue that Angelina struggled with earlier on in life was an ED, an eating disorder, because she struggled with as a young girl. People were making fun of her body. Living in LA, she had these big lips, which is a big part of her look and why people love her, but she claims back in high school she was made fun for it and her broad shoulders, and I guess food really wasn't a priority for her. But it got really bad. Her mother was worried that she was not eating, and at one point she was taken into the hospital, carried by her loved ones because she was too weak to go and admit herself. Angelina's brother James once admitted that Angelina doesn't pay much attention to food and became extremely worried about her after the death of their mother in 2007. Angelina admitted that the ordeal had indeed left her looking thinner than usual. Quote, I've always been lean and this year I lost my mom and I've gone through a lot. She told Metro that she was getting into good shape in preparation for her Marvel role in 2019, but rumors of more weight loss surfaced the following year, with one insider telling Radar that the actor was barely 100 pounds. But there are several factors that feed into why Angelina may struggle with her weight. You know, some of that bullying from high school, being in the industry. And I mean, keep in mind, she did start off as a model, which I think the modeling industry is even more intense than sometimes the entertainment is. She claims that they measured every part of her while she was a model and she felt humiliated. She was actually working on a film titled Gia, and she claims that this film triggered a lot of the trauma that she experienced in her modeling career, which began at 14 years old. She said, I tried modeling when I was 14 and failed miserably. Like Gia, I was a bit of a dirty punk, but it was interesting to clean up and start feeling like a girl. I was told I had all these problems I needed to fix. I was told I needed to lose weight, and I was thin already. They actually put me in a room in a bathing suit and measured every part of me. I felt terrible. Keep in mind, she's 14 years old when this goes down, so it seems pretty inappropriate. I get measuring someone for their measurements. I mean, that's part of modeling, but criticizing them along the way doesn't make sense. And it hasn't been easy for Angelina to avoid conversation around her weight. It's always been a struggle in her career.
Are you concerned like I am? I'm only raising this because I don't want to see another celebrity go down and sit by and let that happen.
Well, you know, obviously last night when we watched it, everybody was like, oh my God, she looks so thin. And the arms were the thing that like just stood out to us. When I saw her, she did look alarmingly thin.
Malnourished.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you see, again, the hallmark being the face, when you see muscular wasting on some of these facials, you see how my face is kind of round, but when you see muscular wasting around the face, that is a hallmark sign of nutritional deficiency.
And when you see somebody that thin, you do in your head go, what's going on? Something's wrong. It's a red flag that something, whatever it is.
When you deal with all this criticism about your body and your personality, how you carry yourself, it affects you. And Angelina found ways of coping which weren't great, which included some self-harm. So a little bit of a trigger warning, we're getting into that part of her story. Because Angelina had a fascination with knives, which led to self-harm. And actually at one point, her uncle said that Angelina's father was worried that she was cutting herself. This is something that Angelina has never denied. She's been shockingly open about her fascination with knives, which she is a collector of. She once told Barbara Walters that she utilized knives in the bedroom during her first relationship, though she's also used them to self-harm in darker times. She has shared that she has stopped harming herself since she adopted her first son from Cambodia back in 2002. She also revealed that her knives were now out of reach in the home, but they're not gone, so her kids can't get to them. She did share that her son, though, once he's old enough, is allowed to have his own knife collection because she got her first daggers when she was 11 or 12 when her mom took her to go get them. So a little bit of a bizarre collection to have, but I've seen people collect knives before.
You share something in common with Gia, who's a real person, which is that you both have a fascination with knives, or you have.
I've collected weapons since I was a little girl, and my mom I went to the
So when you were a little girl, you asked Santa for a grenade launcher.
I went to my There's just something beautiful about them to me. So
and you practice with these, I guess they're called butterfly knives, right? You like to practice with them or sort of play around with them? Show me what they do. These are, you collect butterfly knives, right?
Yeah, let's see.
The movie she did where she played Gia really affected her. There were a lot of similarities between herself and that character, and I think she did a little bit of method acting because it really took her out of her own identity and she became one with this Gia person. She claims she fell into a dangerous depression while playing Gia because they both had that similar history, and Gia was a troubled supermodel. She said, Gia has enough similarities to me that I figured that this would either be a purge of all my demons or it was really going to mess with me. Sadly, the latter came true. She actually claims she had a plan to end her own life. She was going to hire someone to unalive her. She said, with taking your own life comes all the guilt of the people around you thinking they could have done something. With somebody being murdered, nobody takes that guilty responsibility. Luckily, the hitman that she tried to hire had a heart because according to Angelina, the man told her, okay, hold up, I'm not going to take your money. Think about it for a month, and if you still want this, then I will do the job. And she went through that month and she survived and it was okay. I cannot imagine hiring someone to take my own life. I mean, clearly there are some mental health issues here that she's struggling with and she cannot figure out. She said that hitmen are not hard to find in New York. As insane as it sounds, I think a lot of people consider when they are young. So her solution was to find someone who could, rob her and then take her life while in the process. At one point, she found her guy, like I said, who decided he wasn't going to do it, but she had the cash ready to go. This article reads, as bizarre as it sounds, we've got a hitman with a conscience to thank for Angelina being here today. Her mental health troubles didn't end that day. Angelina would suffer a nervous breakdown at 24, but then once she had her children, she found some stability.
So she hired somebody to kill her, and the hitman told her, I'm going to give you a certain amount of days. If you don't call me in this amount of time, I'm going to do it. But if you don't want it to happen, call me up and tell me not to do it. because he knew like she didn't, you know, like he gave her the time to be like, you don't actually want this.
What really upsets me about mental health is that there's only a few handful of options. I mean, you can go to therapy, you can get on medication, or you can cope in other ways which aren't as productive when it comes to an eating disorder or harming yourself or taking drugs, which you know are not good for you. And Angelina has shared that she's tried about every drug possible. Quote, heroin has been very close to me in my life. In an interview during 1998, she shared that she's done coke, heroin, ecstasy, LSD, and everything else. She said, I remember taking LSD before I went to Disneyland, and I started thinking about Mickey Mouse being a short, middle-aged man in a costume who hates his life. Those drugs can be dangerous if you don't go into it positively, which actually recently, didn't we see someone like in Disneyland, like who took like LSD and like stripped out and like got completely naked and like swam in the water of a certain ride? Like, please don't take drugs and go to Disneyland. Angelina went on to say that she stopped using drugs long ago, but that wasn't true according to the man who sold her drugs, because in 2014, a drug dealer named Franklin Meyer released a video of Angelina looking worse and claims that he shot her with permission during a drug drop-off back in 1999. Quote, Angie was a client of mine for years. I sold her heroin and cocaine. Here's a clip that this guy took of Angelina. So he's got his receipts, and Angelina's actually on the phone with her father in this moment. Angelina did take legal action against the Daily Mail for using this video.
It's just not necessary, you know, but it's you know, whatever that house, I mean, when I said once, you know, well, what if I stop working? She said, oh, wait, I said, if I stop working? You know, and she said, and this is, you know, she's like, talk to you about this, you know.
So this drug dealer, Franklin, is a sketchy guy. If he's recording the people who are buying his drugs, like, I mean, drug dealers in general are sketchy people, but if they were recording me, I mean, I wouldn't be happy with that kind of customer service. But Franklin claims that Angelina is lucky to be alive. With all the drugs that he had sold her and the amount that she used them, he would go off and sell her these drugs and then watch her get into interviews and go on television. And you can clearly tell that she was like, I mean, according to him, high off of coke. He claims one time he watched her in an interview on a show, saw that she was high on coke because she just went to him and bought some, and then after the show, she came right back to Franklin to buy more. Here's that clip where Franklin claims that Angelina was using his goods.
Actress Angelina Jolie has captivated audiences with edgy performances that may belie her age, but certainly not her talent. She already has 2 back-to-back Golden Globe Awards for her work in television. I am very, very pleased to have her on this program. Welcome.
Good. I'm very, very happy to be here. I watch your show all the time.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that you lived in New York.
I didn't know you lived in New York. I'm here. I was just saying, before it started rolling, I was trying to tell him how I don't have friends here and I don't have anybody to go to dinner with. So I love watching your show. So.
I mean, maybe she's a little bit nervous there, but it does seem like she's uncomfortable, maybe on something which is making her uncomfortable, because keep in mind, she's an actress. She knows how to be on camera. She knows how to interview. So yeah, there's something a little bit off there. But I want to talk about her father, because her father seems to be a root cause of a lot of problems. As I mentioned, he was a successful actor as well, and actually in 2001 they worked together on a film called Lara Croft Tomb Raider. She claims that she actually was able to bond with her father for the first time while working together. She said, we seemed to understand each other and it was fun, but afterwards he returned quickly to old habits of being judgmental. It all started to go wrong right before Angelina left the country on a United Nations mission. According to Angelina, her father John decided to come along to the airport with her, and on their ride over, he handed his daughter a mysterious letter. He said, this is my truth. This is unchanging, Angelina recalled. She said she opened the letter and her father John wrote that Angelina herself was a bad person. She said that she no longer saw them as a father and daughter, I guess, like duo or relationship, and she kind of like regretted this movie. But honestly, I can't understand why her father would feel the need to send her off with a letter to her trip and tell her, like, you're a bad person. Like, I hate you. Okay, what is wrong with him? Angelina claimed that she does not value her father's opinion. He wasn't really there for her entire life, so she moved on. But then he did some more damning things. For example, Angelina separated from her second husband, Billy Thornton, back in 2002. This was about 3 to 4 months after they adopted their son together. The pair met on set of the 1999's Pushing 10 and got hitched in Las Vegas that following year. They ended up becoming big names in the headlines, especially after they started wearing lockets of each other's blood. As I mentioned, they ended up splitting up. I mean, I guess the vials of blood didn't do it. Well, he actually claimed that he wasn't ready to adopt their son, and Angelina called the entire situation tragic. But what's really tragic is how her father decided to get involved. Her father, John, told Access Hollywood that he knew the marriage was doomed and that his daughter had some serious mental health problems. When Angelina sat down with Barbara Walters, she was still upset about her father's comments. She said the most difficult thing in him doing that is that it could have affected my relationship with my child. They could have decided, he's right, she's crazy, let's remove that child from her custody, and that's unforgivable. Here's a more recent clip of John being asked about his relationship with his daughter, Angelina.
Can I ask you, have you gotten to speak with Angelina since
No,
you posted your video?
I really don't want to talk about it, fellas.
Yeah?
I'm busy, I'm running.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to see you.
It's so good to see you.
Give everybody my love, will you?
Do you feel like there's anything missing that you think that they should know? Or Angelina should know?
They're definitely missing something, I'll tell you.
What do you think they are missing?
It's a matter of knowing what is good and what is not so good.
Yeah.
That's it.
After your video, did you have any reflection or anything you want to say to Angelina now?
No, fellas, I want you to leave me alone today.
Thank you so much, John. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
See you.
A big part of Angelina's story is her relationship with Brad Pitt. Keep in mind that Brad and Angelina met in 2003 on the set of the film Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And a lot of people believe that this film allowed Angelina to essentially steal Brad away from Jennifer Aniston. And maybe she did steal them away, but she claims that she never trusted Brad because she doesn't trust anyone. After having such a terrible relationship with her father, Brad coming into the picture while she loved him and they were a power couple for a while, she claims that she never really fully trusted him either. And good thing she didn't trust Brad because she caught him cheating on her while he was on set. She actually hired a private investigator to go and watch his every move while he was in the UK. Quote, she felt like he was fooling around with her on set, his co-star, and it turns out he was. They claim that this isn't the reason why they ended up splitting up. They ended up splitting up for the well-being of their family, but it probably adds to the factor, and I guess good thing that, Angelina never trusted Brad. A lot of people were worried about Angelina when she and Brad split up because she publicly even said that Brad's really the only person she speaks to. She doesn't have a tight, close relationship with her family members. She doesn't have a lot of friends. So when she and Brad separated, she went into full isolation. Even her grandmother at some point made a statement to the media that she was worried about Angelina's well-being because she doesn't talk to anyone. One friend said that, I know she's got her father, but I don't know how close they are, which, at this point in the video, you should know that they aren't close at all. Angie has a tight support system that largely consists of her household staff, her brother James, and a handful of very trusted friends. And obviously that's good that she does have people in her life because when her mother passed away, she really went through it. She had a very close relationship with her mother. Actually, one of the reasons why she got into entertainment wasn't because she was following her father's footsteps, but because she was trying to support her mother with the bills, and it was the only way she knew how. And she claims that when her mother was dying, that she spent a lot of time with her and that her mother was clearly focusing on her kids and having her last moments with them. Here's a clip where Angelina is speaking about her mother and how she feels about the situation.
She was the woman I relate to who had that elegance and strength through just knowing what was right. You're reminded, you have a loss, and I did have, my mom was far too young. She was 58. But she lived long enough to meet my children, most of my children. And so you can only think of that. You can only just focus on how grateful you are. And of course, I also think, when you love somebody that much, you're happy when they're out of pain, period.
I want to talk a little bit more about Brad Pitt, but before we get there, I want to talk about her brother James, because there's a weird moment we have to get into. And I'm taking you guys back to the 2000s, actually the year 2000, because that Oscars, she was nominated, and I guess at one point she kissed her brother several times on the mouth, and it wasn't like a little, it was like a really deep kiss, something that made a lot of people uncomfortable. I'm going to play a clip where you can see there are several pictures of these two kissing each other, and it's giving borderline like making out, which I understand. Like, I love family love, but this is like a little like, with seeing how this family dynamic is, it's just not making sense.
It's been over 2 decades since Angelina Jolie and her brother Haven shared a kiss on the mouth at the 2000 Golden Globes, and then again at the Oscars. I'm in shock, and I'm so in love with my brother right now, she said when receiving her award. Despite other celebs calling their kiss blatantly sexual, Jolie dismissed incest rumors by saying they had nothing more than brotherly love for each other. My parents really loved that moment, and that's what will always matter, Jolie said.
It's weird, and it's weird that it's happened on several other occasions. Though some people believe that this is a publicity stunt, that maybe they did it for attention. I mean, it got people talking. They're a little like too close for comfort. But yeah, I don't know. Like, if this is their like attempt to get publicity, I don't understand it. I can't relate. Another weird part of their relationship is that James wanted to be a filmmaker. He wanted to get into the industry as well, but he didn't make it there. He ended up becoming Angelina's nanny. So weird that his job now is to take care of his sister's 6 children. And when she and Brad split up, he was seen around town with her kids. And I guess at one point he was spending so much time with her children that they started calling him Daddy. Supposedly they called him Manny instead of Daddy because he was their nanny. And at one point he actually ended up getting fired. I think it was in March 2017. Angelina thought it would probably be best that he got out of the picture, especially because her divorce with Brad was so bad. A source claims that Angelina actually let James go so he could focus on himself, because at this point his life was just really taking care of her life. He didn't really do anything for himself. Even though Angelina claims that she was doing this for the best of James, they haven't had much of a relationship after. So I don't know what had happened, but they have little to no contact and the kids don't talk to him. So Manny's just gone now. They don't have their Manny here. So now that Manny, or James, is out of the picture, Angelina really took control over her children's lives, and she really took control, maybe a little bit too much. And it's a little concerning how Angelina has tried to protect her kids from everything. And I think while she's trying to protect them, she's actually really hurting them in the process.
Angelina Jolie has some weird rules that her 6 children have to follow. For example, they aren't allowed to Google their parents. Jolie hired a team of cybersecurity experts to monitor her children's online activities. The celeb mom also doesn't allow them to stay over at friends' houses. Because of this, the children have no friends and live a secluded life.
It's a little bit weird how she's micromanaging them, and just because Angelina likes to be isolated doesn't mean her kids deserve that. But maybe she's trying to protect them from understanding that their father, Brad, is a terrible person, because at one point Brad got physical with Angelina and she showed photos of her bruises. According to an FBI report, Angelina told investigators that Brad, who had been drinking, had striked her in a restroom on a flight back from France. She claims that Brad grabbed her by her head, grabbed her by the shoulders, and shook her, pushed her into the bathroom wall, and yelled at her, "You're effing up this family." Their 2 minor children, whose names have been redacted from the report, said that they were outside the door crying and asked Angelina, "Are you okay, mommy?" Here's supposedly one of the photos that shows the bruising. I'm not doubting the bruising happened. I mean, the FBI were here, but really weird photo. Maybe because it's a black and white and like scanned in from the report, but yeah, someone's got an explanation. Comment below. But Brad replied to the kids saying, "No, mommy's not okay. She's ruining this family. She's crazy." According to Angelina, that comment prompted one of her kids to retaliate, saying, "It's not her, it's you," which made Brad very angry. The actress then alleged that she saw him run towards one of the children like he was going to attack, at which point she said, this like, I'm like nervously laughing. This makes me so uncomfortable. Imagine being on this plane and he's like running to attack this kid. They're like in flight. She claims that she got Brad into a chokehold that he tried to break by throwing himself back and pushing her into the chairs behind them. Angelina claims that she suffered injuries to her back and her elbow, and here's a photo of her elbow that she shared with the FBI. Again, the image quality is not great.
47-year-old actress handed over the images, which show bruises on her hand and elbow, to the FBI as part of the organization's ongoing investigation into the couple's physical and verbal fight, which took place aboard their jet in September 2016 when they were flying from France to LA. In the bombshell FBI report, Jolie also claims that Pitt body slammed her at one point and made degrading comments about her and their children.
The fight got much worse. I guess Brad started saying like things about their children, claiming that one of them looks like an effing Columbine kid. I guess like a shooter, a school shooter. Oh my God, why would you say that about your kid? I feel like I would remember that forever. But Angelina also claims that Brad continued to drink during the trip and he poured beer on her. Once they arrived in LA, the pair allegedly had a physical altercation, and she claims that Brad prevented her and her children from deplaning for 20 minutes. There were no criminal charges filed, which is probably why we didn't learn about this incident until later on. Clearly, they have been separated for years now, and it's probably for the best because they were going after each other and the family dynamic was out of whack. It's really scary to think that those things happened back in like what, 2016, and we just learned about them in 2022, and it kind of explains how difficult things got between Angelina and Brad. But here is Angelina's dark past, her stories, controversies, things that she's gone through. If you guys enjoyed this video, comment below. Here's my email if you have any other video ideas for me, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye guys.